Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Hello, my name is Mary Seitz, and you're listening to Under the Rug, a podcast discussing the things that often go unsaid in the workplace. Here with me today is Thomas Bieksha, an educator at Corona del Sol High School, and my college prep teacher, along with Adrian Casio, Senior Social Services Coordinator and Head of Career Tempe. Can you guys tell me a little bit about yourselves? Adrian, you can go first.
Yeah, thank you, Mary, and a pleasure to be here. So I work for the city of Tempe, and I support a few programs, basically all youth development programs. So Career Ready Tempe is one of those that provides internship opportunities to high school students, juniors and seniors who attend the Tempe Union High School District. And my background is in social work. Previously, I was a case manager working with youth who are at risk and in foster care, aging out of the system. So I just have a passion for working with high school teens and young adults.
And Career Tempe is the program I am a part of and why I'm here at Phoenix Business Radio today. Mr. Bieksha, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Mary. Well, I am a Southern California transplant. I went to Arizona State University to get my degree in teaching, particularly in history and social studies, where I have been at Corona del Sol in Tempe, Arizona for the past, now starting my 6th year. And so what started last year was actually the reason why I think I'm here. I created an elective at Corona del Sol called College Prep Seminar. I hate that name. I'll describe why I call it something different here in a little bit. But it was a course created to kind of answer one of the age-old questions that high school students always ask. When am I going to use this in real life? Or why don't I learn anything useful in high school? And so through that, I created the course, and I have really tried to refine it last year during virtual learning, and then this year for the first time with real live students. And I would say it's going pretty well.
Tell me why you hate the name of College Prep Seminar.
Anytime I hear the word seminar and thinking of things like college prep, I feel like everybody starts to just kind of roll their eyes or tune out. You know, what on earth is a seminar? And so instead, I think that kind of sells the course short. The course itself is designed to be getting students ready for success for life after high school. And that can encompass college, and that can encompass anything and everything that goes with higher education or extending learning opportunities. But it doesn't just have to stop there. It can be professionalism. It can be test prep. It can be just working on oneself and figuring out what someone or what a young student is interested in and wants to do when they grow up, for lack of better terms. And so that's why I hate the name College Prep Seminar. And when I give this spiel to students at Corona, I like to walk around and call it Life After High School, because that's really what we're studying.
Yeah, and I just ended that class just today. I had my final there. And it really isn't just college. That's a main part of it, but it's also for kids who are thinking maybe not going to college and how to work on like what they want to do after high school, because we talk about like personal finance, we talk about like how to deal with money, and we also, a lot of it is college prep, so ACT prep and college application preparation. So it is a very good program for college prep, but it's much more than that. So
I love that. I have to say I love the name because it's so funny you mentioned that. One of the other programs I do, which is a sister program of Career Ready Tempe, is College Connect Tempe. I'm constantly, when I talk to students, I always tell them, just take out the word college because it already brings some kind of like perception of, what you might be talking about. And I always say, let's just talk about life after high school.
No, I love that you say that. And it's awesome to finally meet you, because I feel like I've been promoting College Ready Tempe and College Connect to my students all year long, whether they're in this class or they're just in my U.S. history class as juniors. And so it's really funny just to kind of, again, meet you, talk to you, but also, the second they hear college, all of a sudden it's the stress, it's the anxiety, it's not for me, it's the out of reach. And we're missing such a broad audience. that immediately start to tune out when they hear that, big bad term.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
And I just love how, I wouldn't have found this program and been a part of it and been so lucky if it wasn't for Mr. Bieksha's college prep class. I had no idea about it. It was my second week of school, maybe not second week, but it was pretty early on in the school year. And he brought it up to the class, and everyone didn't really seem as interested in it as I did. So I went right to it and I looked into it and I jumped on it right away. And here I am. So I'm really excited that you guys could finally meet because this has been a big part of my life right now. I just wanted to ask you a few questions. So what standards exist regarding college readiness in the state of Arizona? You both can answer this, whoever wants to go first.
I think I'll take it first just because the career and college readiness standards are something that currently exist within our state education department here in Arizona. They are a very broad, wide-ranging, I would say, skills rather than standards that exist. And the goal is that all students are achieving these skills and standards by the time they are graduating. And just like any other standards, whether it be English standards, my social studies standards, they are standards that are supposed to be built in to lesson plans, and they are supposed to be built in to curriculum with the hope of obtaining college and career readiness. And so that's something that has been here in Arizona for I don't know how long, but as long as I've been teaching. And so it's something that is kind of lurking in the shadows that I don't know that if many teachers or students even know that they exist or actively look over them or employ them.
And I'll provide a different perspective to piggyback off of that too. One of the things that Arizona has, it's called Achieve 60. And Achieve 60 is a goal that we have in 2030 that all residents will have some kind of a post-secondary degree. 60% of Arizona residents will have some kind of post-secondary degree. It could be a certificate, associate, bachelor's. But what's unique too is Tempe actually took that goal and took it up a notch to achieve. It's called Achieve 65. So being in Tempe, and not too surprising because we have ASU here in our backyard. It wasn't as lofty of a goal. We're, I don't know, somewhere in the 50 percentile of that. But what I would like to kind of say, sometimes what I tend to focus on is more so what employer expectations as well. Because what you find, and a lot of times students may run into this, is what they want to do in college, and then realizing when they get out of college, what that experience they got or that degree or certificate, how does that translate to, being employable? And those could be two different things. And it's good just to have those distinctions of and be aware about that. So that's another thing I like about Career Ready Tempe is students start to learn too, what are expectations that an employer might have. And a lot of times it's the things that they do see the younger workforce lacking is it could be customer service experience. It could be the soft skills, managing your time, what does it mean to be a reliable employee? And, you can get those things going to college. But even then, there's just certain things that you can't, get that maybe you could get through an internship or, an apprenticeship. So, like what you're doing, Mary, and getting that hands-on experience, it goes complementary with the education, I think.
Throughout my school experience, I have always been prepared. I've always wanted to be prepared for the future since 7th grade. 7th grade through 9th grade, I was in a program called AVID, which is basically the same thing as a college prep class. It's more directed towards college readiness, though, but it does go into how to get a job and all these different things to help you for the future. So this has always been in my mind, and I don't think I have a lot of friends who aren't to that that same level as I am. I'm always thinking, I think because I started those classes so early, I have those ideas in my mind not all the time, but I've had them in my mind from a very young age. But it's surprising to me how people who haven't been in these programs at all don't know about them, and they also don't have a plan, and they don't have that confidence that I do. So I do think that it would be really beneficial if these programs and these types of classes were something that were maybe mandatory, or something that they're more out there for kids to find, because I know there's a lot of kids out there who do want to have this help, but they just don't know how to advocate for themselves and how to find them. So I think that's really important. And I think that Arizona and just schools in general need to work on that.
And I'm glad to hear you say that, Mary, just because I think that's where maybe the next phase of this course goes. It's no secret that, teachers, counselors, schools are overworked, underserved. And so really, realistically, if we're going to kind of bridge these gaps that exist, students that don't have access to this education, it's going to fall on peers, being leaders for one another. And so, you made the comment of, kids not, necessarily getting professionalism experience just through college alone. You need internships, you need that work experience. And so I hope you're pleased to know that in our professionalism unit, one of the first things we did that day, and right when we started the unit, is we learned how to shake somebody's hand, which was something that they, as high school juniors and seniors, I think, Mary, you'll agree, and you can offer your insight, was incredibly awkward. And it was, perhaps a number of things. We're in mass. We haven't been in person in an entire year. And so that was something that was kind of shocking. And no excuses. I busted out plastic gloves. We moved around the room and we practiced introducing ourselves in a professional manner, introducing others, and kind of building those professional building blocks, and then watching them, run down the hall after class, trying to shake their friends' hands and telling them, "Hey, you're a dead fish," and you're as bad a handshaker as a politician, which is always a good YouTube. That's how I started, with showing them politicians that have failed spectacularly at shaking hands, and it happens to everybody. And so this is why you practice these things. But I'm actually curious to kind of hear, Mary, your perspective. Did you find that to be sufficient, a good enough intro, or is the internship experience, no, there's no substitute for this?
That, I think, is a very important thing as well. Like, not only college prep, but, just life after high school, how to shake someone's hand, how to get a job. Like, that's also something we did after that, after learning how to shake someone's hand. And with the AVID class that I was in for so many years, that was something that we talked about a lot, is how to shake someone's hand. So for me, it was more awkward because the other person that I was with was awkward. But for me, I already knew how to shake someone's hand. I already knew, because I have gotten previous jobs in the past, and I think I take credit to AVID for that. From such a young age, I have known how to be very professional and very articulate. And people sometimes think that I'm older than I am because I know how to present myself as a professional. And I'm really grateful for that. So I think it is a really important thing. If you know how to do that at a young age, doesn't mean you have to not be a kid, but just in professional environments, knowing how to look professional and look trustworthy is really important. Yeah. What do you think, Adrian?
I think it's awesome that you do those activities that might, I'm sure too, if I was a student in your class, at first I'd be like, this is silly. But you know what? It's a lot of these things are always going to be awkward. Might as well make it awkward in the classroom than when you are at the work setting, because it's way more, it's going to be even more awkward and anxiety producing. And it specifically, today I was over at Barro's Pizza ordering pizza just like an hour ago. And I was sitting there waiting for my order. And there was a group of, I'm assuming they were teenage girls who were at the counter. And it's so funny because, and you probably would think the same thing, Thomas, I think the work that we do, I was just noticing their conversation. One of the girls was teaching another girl who was new, and she was talking to her about just things that she's been learning. And one of the things she was talking about was like answering phones. And she said that she's like, that was one of the most anxiety producing things to me, was knowing that I was going to have to answer a phone. And even though it's something straightforward, taking an order, that same concept of like getting, first of all, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, getting out of your comfort zone. And those are just things that those experiences that maybe you never have to worry about or for a while, if, at a school setting or whatnot, but like answering a phone, shaking a hand. And she's like, and then you want to greet the customer. She was like, all these things that, they aren't really common sense. You do have to, learn these things. So I was just thinking like, oh, this is cool to hear that. And then it was funny too, because I started hearing them talking about like which managers she likes and stuff that like I probably shouldn't be hearing. And then a manager does come up and says like, hey, by the way, girls, please be mindful, when we're up here, our conversations we're having and what customers can hear. So all that stuff is like what we're talking about, soft skills, and you don't know what you don't know. So I think if you get the opportunity like you did, Mary, to like learn these things even earlier on in a class like Avid, like it's gonna be a great advantage for you. And yeah, it'll take you far, those things.
Yeah. And I think now a lot of people that are older than like 20 like to say that we, like as teenagers, we're very engaged in our phones. And I agree with this, that I think because we are so, like, it's so easy to communicate with people over the phone, and being informal and not having to see them in person. I think that teenagers, because we grew up with that, we didn't have to develop like those skills. So we don't know, it's harder for us to learn, and it's harder. It makes us seem a little awkward. That's why it's like weird for us to take phone calls and like shake someone's hand. I think it's just, that used to be, because my parents tell me this all the time, like it used to be a standard practice to respect the person older than you, shake their hand, look them in the eye. And now that's such a hard ask for someone young nowadays. And I think I'm grateful that I was able to be like introduced to that young. So I can't personally relate to that, I hope. But I think that's the main problem with kids and teens these days, because they grew up having such easy access to talking with people. They didn't have to meet up, and they didn't have to like go in person to tell someone something, Yeah. So I was wondering, what do you guys like best about your jobs? Like helping people, helping kids for life after high school. What is your favorite part?
I'll let you go.
Okay. So one of the things that I think I didn't realize was going to happen this year when I really took on this class. So last year, it was mostly virtual. Everything I was doing was just weird and awkward and impersonal, just the way the class was set up. I still got to know those students, but not quite like this year. I think this year was a much more personal experience. I started with, the number one thing about obviously being a teacher is the connections and the impacts you can have on young people. Young people are the future. And if I can be a positive force, or at least be a positive resource, that makes it all worth it. But this class this year, nothing that was really out of the ordinary, but I start the class by writing personal statements. We explore what we want to do, what we've gone through. And I think for the first time, for a lot of students, they do an assignment that is about them and for them, that benefits them. And it becomes a kind of this self-exploration phase where I then have them peer review one another. And so they get to know each other a lot better that way. And that was something that was missing the last year. And so something that really impacted me is as I began reading, 120 different personal statements, I really got to learn and just be in the shoes of all of these students and all of their experiences, and just see life as a teenager in 2021 100 different ways. And then watching where that started and then where they ended this year, I was profoundly moving. Just having them express these motivations and these ideas and these dreams, and then taking concrete steps over 18, 20 short weeks, taking concrete steps towards their dreams and aspirations. And I think that was something that really definitely moved me this year, and is something that I've enjoyed with this class this year.
Everything you said, I would say ditto to that. It's definitely the growth that you see in somebody is just amazing. And that's one of the most exciting things to me when I'm working with young people, is seeing where they started at, and then from, the end of the program or services, or, where they are. What I always like to see too is that confidence that they build within themselves, because that's something that they're going to be able to apply to whatever they do. And another program there's 3 programs that I manage. The other one I haven't mentioned, it's called the Mayor's Youth Advisory Commission. And in that program, it's always amazing. I'm always blown away every year, because I meet with students from as young as 8th grade who are invested in their community. They inspire me, and because they are taking on things, I didn't even do in high school. And to me, the exciting thing too is when you see them contribute, and I'm learning from them just as much as, I'm there to provide guidance. I think when you can find the opportunity for that kind of collaboration, that's how I always like to see when I'm working with young people, is that we're going to learn from each other. We're going to work together on things. And you mentioned earlier, Mary, about sometimes it is easy for older generations. I mean, we all do this, people older than me, about it's easy to criticize the things we do differently. I like to look at it that way. But we also have a lot of strengths. And that's what I always hope to instill in any young person, is recognizing the things that they already possess, those strengths that maybe they didn't even realize in themselves. And so, yeah, that's the kind of work that money can't buy. So, and that's why we do what we do, I think.
Yeah. And what would you guys say is your least favorite part of your job? I'll let Adrian go first this time.
Oh, well, let me think. Well, it's just the administrative stuff that I have to do. I am a creative person and a big thinker. But I'm really open when I talk to, I work with interns myself, college interns. And so, there's always going to be the things we like to do and the things we don't like to do. It's hard for me, honestly, to be organized. Yeah, that's one of the most challenging things in my kind of job, especially because it's a job that changes day to day. There's projects, there's different deadlines. That's the thing that I struggle with. If you ask me to create a presentation, whatnot, make a video, I'll be more than happy to do that. But then when it's organizing and putting, I don't know, anything of those kind of administrative functions, it's not the most attractive thing to me. So that's where I also like to mention to students, it's nice to have other people that complement what you do. So my supervisor she's a type A personality and is 100% on it. And so, but we complement each other with both of our strengths. And, I always, for myself, it's always an ongoing journey, Mary. So, it's a practice. You're not going to be perfect at it, and you get better at the things you don't like to do.
Yeah. And I like, you said that your supervisor, you said that you mentioned a type 8, or was it?
Oh, type 8, yeah.
Type 8, yeah. We did that in college prep class, where we would do personality tests, maybe for different majors or careers, depending. And those are probably my favorite part of any type of career exploration, probably because I really like the mental aspect, the psychological aspect of it. Very interested in that, but also because it gives me an insight of who I am. It I like seeing taking a test and then seeing on paper what kind of person you are, and seeing what would complement you most, what career, what major, and how to get there. Because I think a lot of students, they think, or just people in general, they think, oh, it's all about the money. And money is very important. I won't say that money doesn't buy happiness, because it definitely does. But a main part of it is being in a field that complements who you are and that you're happy in. Because you don't want to live your life in a job that you're not happy with, just because making money. It's the goal for everyone is to have a job that you enjoy and you also make a lot of money. I think everyone's dream is that. But I really liked every time, like we did that in Avid as well. I just love that part of it because it tells me more about myself that I don't know. So what are some of your guys' goals for students after college? For college, after life after high school? Like, what are some of your goals for them and just to improve in the system?
I think that one of my goals, one of the things that I try to do when I talk to students or I meet with students that are interested in my class, is I really want them to have a sense of calm about what comes next. And so much of high school and so much of what you do in high school, you do to get that piece of paper at the very end, right? To get that diploma, and to sit on that football field with the confetti falling down and that Green Day song playing, right? Everything you do in high school is geared towards that. Every paper, every test. And so one of the things that I really stress with my class is this is for you. This is the one class where everything we do is about that next day. And so that's something that I hope my students take away from that. And so much of this class is my own personal experience, because I try to stress to them, if you think it's stressful now, not knowing what comes next, imagine being graduated and not having a clue of what comes that next day. After all the grad night parties, you've got the rest of your life ahead of you, and nobody's there to wake you up. Nobody's there to tell you to go to school. Nobody's there to tell you to go to work. It's you. And so you need to take the time now while you have the safety net of school and the structure of school to really figure out, at least your life's next path. And so I share my own personal story where I had no idea what I wanted to do when I got out of high school. I played tennis. I knew I liked to play tennis and didn't get a scholarship and thought, I'll do that. And so I went on and hit a fuzzy ball for a living for a couple of years, and just sort of slowly figured out that, okay, through that, I got into coaching. I enjoyed working with juniors over adults, a little bit more fun, a little less dramatic. And I found a passion for coaching and teaching, which then brought me here to ASU. And so, to circle back around to your original question, Mary, what do I want students to leave with? I want them to leave with that sense of calm and that sense of direction that there is a plan A. And if they need to reevaluate later on, that's totally fine. We all will have several different careers and job changes throughout our life, but just making sure they have step one planned, I think, is the biggest thing.
And in your class, like Avid taught me a lot. It was more about how to look for colleges. It was more like what you expect in college and what you have to do now, but they didn't really go into the steps to get there, like the in-between part. And I think this class really got into that because they talked about college and what to do for that, but they didn't talk about the financial aspect of it, the student loans and all of that. And we went a lot into that. And now when I went to that class the first day, I had no idea what to do with the money aspect of college and what to do, how to plan out my money, how to use it in college. And now I am very confident, even though I'm a junior and I haven't even applied to colleges yet, I am very confident in what to do now to get to college, and get the money part of it down and how to what the ACTs we practiced. We had a whole segment about ACTs, and now I feel confident that I'm going to do good on those. There's so many things that we did in that class that made me feel confident about getting into college and what to do when I get there. Because I think a lot of people talk about how to get into college, but they don't tell you how to, what to do when you're there. So now I feel very confident and I take credit. I give credit to college prep class.
You can't give me all the credit. I merely inform students of the opportunities like College Ready Tempe and College Connect Tempe. And I will default to them and say, hey, reach out, send them an email. Those are resources. I may still be a college student getting my master's, but it's been a long time since my undergraduate. And so those types of resources that you offer are oftentimes what I default to because I don't have I don't have any answers mostly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think either any one of us has all those answers, and I appreciate you, sharing that with students, because I feel like we share the same kind of philosophies. Our purpose is, when we talk about goals, is really provide that information to students, help them make an informed decision. Something I didn't make informed decisions when I was in high school, because there were so many things I wasn't informed about, I wasn't aware about. I am where I am because of the journey I took. But I always like to tell students, my hope is that they won't leave high school saying I didn't know this or that and weren't aware of it. Knowledge, it's overused, sir, but it's true. Knowledge really is power, and I love that idea about the sense of calm, because life is chaotic. We're all living in that kind of life right now. And I was just reading, actually, when I was at Barrows, I was reading an article while I was waiting about Gen Zers, which I learned exactly. Sometimes I never know what the age, but apparently Gen Zers are, you're in this group, Mary. I think it starts from 13 to, oh gosh, I can't remember, somewhere in the 20s, but the article was just about how much more stress your generation's dealing with because of the pandemic. The unknowns, like what's going to happen next. Like it's graduating from high school has its own stress, but there's kind of like it's something we all go through after high school. When high school is going to end typically, so you can kind of prepare. Whereas things like what's going on with the pandemic and stuff, it's adding an extra stressor of like, when is this going to end? And what does this mean for me when I do leave high school or, going to a college, whatever it is. And so I think if you can keep some of those elements in mind, I like to look at it like the soft skills, like the calmness, mindfulness, giving yourself like grace, and knowing that whatever you plan, your plan may change up. Mary, I think that's something we talked about last time I visited with you, like the change up in career goals, and that's okay. My dad jokes, like, I remember him saying this 10 years ago when he was like 50. He's like, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, and because he changes, life changes, and knowing that that's okay, and not putting any kind of judgment on yourself. I think that is the one thing I do. I feel for younger generations who are more apt to like social media and stuff, where it can be so easy to compare ourselves to other people, and everybody's got a story, and what you see from others is not always the whole story. So try not to like compare yourself to that other student who seems like they have all the straight A's and everything's going well. You never know what's going on with other people's lives, and so kind of just give yourself that grace. And
like you said about me changing my like views on what I was going to do later in life, in college prep, my first idea was I know I definitely wanted to work with people and help people. That was my main thing. And I immediately, like, when you think of that, you think, oh, like maybe physically, like, oh, maybe a nurse, that's physically helping people. Because I've always loved, like, whenever a family member's sick, I always loved treating them. And I was thinking maybe that's how I like helping people. And that's why I wanted to do this program, to help me figure out what I want to do and help me experiment and see if that's something I want to do. So I went into this program thinking I was going to get like some kind of nursing thing, and you guys paired me here. And it was definitely not what I was thinking, but I think it was for the better, because I realized that maybe I don't physically want to help people, but I like mentally do. Because I said before, psychology, I love psychology. That's definitely something I want to do. I love maybe educating people on different, like helping people learn different things. I was also like, a constant idea I had in my head for a while was a teacher. I've always wanted to maybe be some kind of teacher. I don't know if that means like a classic teacher, or that means educating someone on something, like my mom does. She is an inclusion and diversity leader at Amazon, and she teaches people how to be more inclusive in the workplace, basically. So I was thinking, oh, maybe I want to do something like that, help people and teach people that way. So I'm really thankful for this program, that I figured that that's what I wanted to do instead of nursing.
And when you told me that, Mary, that was like so exciting to me because to be specific with the Career Ready tip, I tell that to students is my hope is that you come out of this internship with just more clarity. I said, either you're going to really like what you did at your internship or maybe you hate it. And I said, either way is fine because hopefully you have a better understanding of like what you gravitate towards. So yeah, you might not do this specific job, but you might find aspects of it that you like. And, you may find that in other kind of careers or professions. So it was so awesome to hear that, when you shared that. So I'm glad you got some more clarity out of this experience.
Yeah, thank you so much for both of you. So this is for both of you, but also mostly towards Mr. Bieksha. So what if someone were to come up to you and ask you, like, just really boiled down to the main part of it, like, what are the steps to getting to college for the people who want to go to college? And what would be those fundamental steps? Because I have a rough idea because of what you taught me. But if someone were to ask you that, what would you say?
So my philosophy is to reverse engineer. A shout out to Transformers. Reverse engineer the process. So I have my students start first with psychology exams, personality tests, skill assessments, trying to figure out what field or what job or what career they would most like to be in. And that's got to be number one. And there's a reason for it. And so I like to start at the end because then depending on that job, there are only a certain number of majors that apply to that career field. And so what some students do tend to figure out is, I don't need to go to college. And that's okay too. Again, I hate the name college prep seminar for my class for so many reasons. This is one of them. There's so many jobs and careers out there that do not require a college education. But in this situation of where a student is really dead set on college, it's okay. Let's find the career path we want to be on. Let's find the major that best suits that career that's going to perhaps open the most doors in that career field. And then let's start finding that major at different schools because there's no guarantee that every school is going to have that major. And so that was something that I kind of had a rude awakening to when I was going through. I started at community college in Southern California before transferring here to Arizona State. And one of the things that I began to find out is the majors that were available at my community college did not match majors at major universities. And so if I wanted, my first love was science. I really was into science. I was, again, coaching tennis, playing tennis. I was all into the body and kinesiology and all those sorts of things. Well, my community college didn't even offer the classes for me to then transfer out. And so I was kind of finding out last second that, this is not going to work for me. And so that's the reason why I try to start at the end of the race, just because, again, you figure out, do I need college, yes or no? If the answer is yes, well, how do I get there? And then you can begin sizing up colleges instead of just, I'll just pick that one. It's down the street, or I'll just go to that one because I hear it's good. It's, okay, which ones are going to have opportunities, internships, research positions that best suit me getting to my end goal? And so that's the steps that I encourage my students to take. Again, because as I tell my students, I made all the wrong decisions. I changed my major multiple times. I did things, the wrong way. I had nobody there to guide me. And so I just needed to, basically telling my students what I wish I would have learned or someone would have told me all those years ago. And so that's my advice for college-bound students is start at your end goal and work yourself backwards.
What do you think, Adrian?
Well, that was a perfect answer. So you pretty much said,
I'm on the right track. Good.
Yeah. Because I think that does really help when you give me an idea of like, what do you want to do? And to me, this is the exciting part, working with a student who maybe isn't sure, or, when they start to see the possibilities, like when they say like, well, I want to do something in the medical field, and then, or even nursing, and then all the different avenues. I I guess this is a plug for ASU, but they do have a really great major. It's a search. I can't remember like your major search where it's like you can look based off like either a major or actually a career and see, you can see all the different opportunities out there. There's different platforms I've used with students as well. Another one's called OwnNet that I like to use too, because it just shows all these other areas that maybe a student wouldn't have thought about. And I guess the other thing I'll just add is that I especially do like to work with students who aren't maybe initially considered to be college bound, and let them know what opportunities are out there for them as well. Because sometimes, it could be, like I said, a certificate program. And there's so many in-demand jobs that, like Thomas was saying, don't require like a 4-year like a degree or even an associate's, but maybe a certificate. I'll give it like example is like welding, for example. So what are the questions? This is always my trick question when I do present to students. And I'm always curious to know, what do students, what do they know, or what's their perception? I just say, what's the best kind of like school to go to? I always want to know what that answer is. And I asked this, I was at McClintock a few weeks ago, and I asked this, and one of the students, she was on it. She's like, well, it's what's the best fit for you? And, I was like, exactly. So like, because sometimes I've heard from students, interns, or, even I know the school I went to, which was I went to St. Mary's High School, private Catholic school, downtown Phoenix. And all I heard was university. And ultimately, that is what I had to do to be a social worker. I got my master's in social work. So yes, it made sense. But I personally wish that I went to a community college first and then transferred for so many different reasons. And it doesn't mean it's the same for everybody. But I didn't even know. That was, again, not making an informed decision like, oh, that's something you can do, or I don't have to, So it's very powerful when you expose these other opportunities and normalize it too, and conceptualize it, so, that it doesn't, you don't set yourself up for failure. Because then, I've had friends too who, like one who got a business degree, his dad had a business degree and owned a restaurant. And that's like, it was almost just like, yeah, that's what I do. I guess and then he got his business degree, hated it, actually went back to school for nursing, realized he wants to help people in a different way. And now that's what he's doing. But it's like, if you can avoid, because there's a lot of money that goes into that. So,
well, and I think the operative word you use there, Adrian, is opportunity. The opportunity is available. The problem is you have to look for them. And one of the colossal failures I think we have right now in education is we don't notify students of the opportunities for whatever reason, whether we don't think they're mature enough to know about them, or we expect them to know about them. We expect parents to know about them. There's so many opportunities, and there's things that I tell students, and it makes my jaw hit the floor, the things that they just don't know. And I think that that's one of the things that, kind of shocks me the most, is and again, this is something where, we can turn the mirror on ourselves a little bit. We hold meetings with our students every year. They get to meet with their counselors once a year, and they work on a education and career action plan. We call it an ECAP in Tempe Union High School District. And it's one day a year that each class is in a classroom with a counselor, and this happens during social studies classes. This is why I know what this is. And again, part of the things that didn't really sit well with me, and I saw a need for a course like college prep, is we were notifying juniors to the idea of scholarships. And one scholarship in particular was the Lumberjack Scholarship. What an opportunity. For those that don't know what the Lumberjack Scholarship is, it is through the university, it is through NAU, Northern Arizona University. And so it is a 100% tuition paid college for 4 years if you maintain all A's and B's in core classes throughout high school. And this is an unbelievable opportunity for Arizona residents. This is something where if I would have had this at my disposal where I was at in California, I would have gone straight away to university. I would not have started at community college. A's and B's was something that even I possessed in high school, and I wasn't the most stellar student, but I could get A's and B's, and we're telling juniors about it. And the looks on the faces of the students that were realizing they weren't in the running. They had gone 2 years without any real motivation or sense of motivation their freshman, sophomore years. And yeah, I got a C in Algebra 1 my freshman year. Yeah, I got a C in biology. It was really, really hard. I just didn't apply myself. What a wasted opportunity that was, that we just somehow expected students to know at age 14 or 15 that, oh yeah, I'm going to go to college. It's expensive and there's this awesome opportunity. And it really, again, it's a sad missed opportunity and again, watching the faces of the students. And it just was one of those things that never sat well with me. It was, why are we telling them this at junior year? Do we not think that they can handle that responsibility? And it was just one of those things that kind of blew me away. And so, yeah, I agree, Adrian. It's the opportunities, and how do we get students to the opportunities more effectively?
Kind of crazy for me because NAU is my top pick for school. I 100% want to go there. And I'm glad I could figure that out here in college. That was, again, shout out to college prep. I figured that out. But I knew about the...
I thought you meant like right now, this second. I figured out I want to go to NAU.
Oh, no, like before. Yeah, I knew about the Lumberjack Scholarship, but, just now by Mr. Bieksha, I've been informed that it's only for students with A's and B's. And freshman and sophomore year, freshman year, I was up in Washington. And then sophomore year, I was online here in a new school, didn't know anybody. So those were really hard years for me. And I really tried my best to get A's and B's, but, I didn't get there. And this year, I've realized how important it is to get those grades in college. And I've applied myself a lot more than I did the first 2 years of high school. But that is very disappointing because I don't have all A's and B's, and I would love to have a scholarship like that. But that does not mean I'm not going to apply for other ones that I can...
The eligibility.
Eligibility. Like, at least I have... there's more opportunities for me. But I just figured that out now by you.
It's a big one.
Great.
But it's not the only one. And again, this class is particularly, it's targeted at juniors and seniors. So it's the exact same problem. I don't know what the appropriate avenue for, informing a 14-year-old freshman, what...
I think it's constant.
Yeah.
Because I go back to when I was that age too, like I had to hear things like repetitively, different ways probably. Because it's great to hear, even though Mary, you might be like, dang, I wish I knew that even earlier. Like my aha moment was already after I graduated at ASU. And for me, it was just like, I didn't get like a lot of scholarships. I didn't apply myself to get it. So that's why I tell students, like, I was a type of student and I didn't really know what I wanted to do going in. I'm like, I should have gone to community college to figure that out and spend less money, since I didn't get a lot of unlike my sister who got that 4-year, she got that full ride scholarship to a private, university. I'm like, yeah, totally take advantage of that. So it's, different scenarios and just like playing that out with students. So I think it's great, Thomas, that you just, sometimes I feel like if you just make it real, like use your own examples and like real life stuff, like I'm pretty candid when I do talk about paying for college. This is a fun activity. I say, like, let's guess how much I pay monthly for student loans. Because then you start to be like, oh, like I said, I never thought about the student loans I got. Like, oh, I have to pay, like the idea of paying that back. Like for me, all I was thinking about was like, yay, I got into college. And when I was in college, I'm like, gosh, it was hard for me to even imagine graduating. That's all I was thinking about. I wasn't thinking about like all the money aspect of it until now. So I think, whatever you can do to make it real, to ingrain into people's heads.
Going back to the original question I asked a little bit ago about what steps you, what advice and what steps you give someone who asks to go into college. for the people who don't want to go to college, what steps do you have to get a good career and that you like? Are they different? What do you think?
Well, I, again, like to start with, what do you like doing? And this is where I can use myself and my own personal experiences to my advantage. Is I enjoy tennis, and I make the joke of hitting a fuzzy ball for a living, but I wouldn't change it for anything. It's something I was extremely passionate about, and I found a way to make it a career. Just like you said, Adrian, through certification. I got certified as a teaching pro with an international organization, and that opened so many doors and so many opportunities. I even got to travel as far away as Fairbanks, Alaska, to coach tennis as a director of tennis for a summer, which was a lot of fun. Shout out to them. That was one of the coolest experiences of my life. And I tell that just to, again, keep it real, is I've been in that position too, where I didn't know if school was for me. I graduated high school and said, man, never again. And now I'm stuck in high school forever, hopefully is my goal. And so, for those students that just don't have the motivation to keep going in the classroom, do keep going to get that diploma. That is important because that will open doors down the road. Community college especially will be there. It will always continue to be there. It'll always continue to be a great option. But truly, find what you like doing and don't wait till graduation to start doing it. The amount of students nowadays, and I make the joke in class, and Mary can probably attest to this, about kids that want to be TikTokers and YouTubers and all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I used to laugh. And now I tell them, you know what? Those people are making a lot more money than me. And even the less famous ones are making a decent living at it. And so if you can take what you're passionate about and make, do those things, if you want to make YouTube videos, get a camera, get some, this is how much I don't know anything about YouTube or movie making, but get a program, get a Mac, get something that allows you to make videos, edit videos, and post videos, and start gaining that experience. And so, like for Mary, when she came and told me about this opportunity, and she really wasn't sure at first, like, is this going to be a good match? Can it help? And there's no such thing as bad experience. You meet people, you shake hands, you leave a good impression. And so that's something that anybody can do at any stage of their life. And especially those that don't see college as an option, as far as I see it, you've got a head start on the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And so, do what you love and find ways. There are always going to be ways to make money doing what you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm. I think I thought of a new title for your classroom or your class. Maybe it should be called Shake Hands or something. You could be like, it just starts with shaking someone's hand. And
absolutely.
Go from there. People are like, what is this about?
Yeah, exactly. Or they'd say, ooh, I don't know if I want to do that anymore. Yeah. That's awkward.
Not for me.
Yeah. So as we're wrapping up, is there a way that people can get in contact with you to get more information?
For me, it's the good old-fashioned email that I give out, and but I'm on my email a lot for work, so that'd be the best way. So it's my name, Adrian, ADRIAN _CASCIO @tempe.gov, and my name's pronounced like Casio Electronics with a Casio keyboard. Or Casio watch, but there's a hidden C in there. So, that's the best way to get in contact with me and ask any kind of questions that you may have. And if I don't have an answer, I always will direct people to a source to get that support.
You can find me at my school website or my school email, which is TBIEKSHA @tempeunion.org. And so that is probably the best way to reach me. I've already begun reaching out to districts and schools and trying to get this course started at other campuses. And so it's something that I'm kind of turning my focus on to growing. And so, if anybody is interested in this conversation and this issue, I'm happy to work with anybody and help.
We'll definitely have to chat more because I was curious the other campuses, what that looks like if they have something like this. So it's good to hear that maybe you'll you're kind of pioneering that there at Tempe Union.
Yeah, absolutely. And likewise, I don't know how many of my students actually reach out, but I know several of them have gone to the College Connect scholarship seminars and things that, again, it's just been an awesome resource for anybody, whether they're within Tempe or not. It's an awesome resource just to kind of get you on that road.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm so happy you both agreed to have this discussion on my show tonight. Is there any last words you'd like to say? No? Okay.
I feel like I've talked so much. I'm just, Mary, super grateful that you gave us this opportunity to talk and even connect with each other, and just, love sharing experiences and hearing other people's perspectives. So hopefully, if anyone's listening to this, they if they get one thing out of it, is knowing that there is something, there's something out there for everybody. It just doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
And there are people out there who are willing to help you out and figure that out. So it's okay not to have all the answers.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mary. This is fun. Usually when I see my students outside of the classroom, they usually look the other way and don't talk to me. So this is nice to be able to sit down and have a conversation like this. It's been amazing.
Yes, thank you guys. Well, you've been listening to Under the Rug. Until next time.